Well, hello there. How is everyone? I hope you're all well. Guess what? That's right, baby. It's a midweek hump, and we all love a midweek hump. Anyway, I'm going to get straight into the meat and potatoes, as, apart from the fact that you guys look absolutely amazing today, we're going to talk about the Jay Slater case, mainly because I now know how much it fucking frustrates some people. And look, there seems to be a group of people who are hell-bent on stopping people from speculating around the Jay Slater case. And one person in particular. Now, I'm not going to mention who this person is here. The person will probably watch this video and they will know exactly who they are. They had reached out to me previously. They had asked me to be involved in... They're putting something together themselves to answer questions around the Jay Slater case. And at first, I thought, do you know what? For you to approach and be like, you know, there's questions, and accepting the fact that there are questions around this case, I was polite to start with. You know, I said, you know what? I'll speak to you. I will see what it is that you're about. I didn't speak to them, and I'm glad that I didn't. I'm busy, you know. People think that this is the only thing I do. People think, oh, this is harsh. He's on YouTube, but that's it. No, I don't. I have a family. I have a wife. I have 5 children. I have multiple things that I have to do, commitments elsewhere beyond this channel. So I didn't get round to it, but I did a video, and it was talking about... I had wondered about the theory that Jay Slater could have potentially have been dumped. And this person had commented on that video saying about speaking rubbish. You shouldn't comment on things if all you're going to talk of is rubbish. And even though I don't feel that was... I think... he was making it a broad statement that there's a lot of people who speak rubbish around this case, in his opinion, and it was like, stop talking rubbish. But I thought to myself, the more I thought about it, the more I thought, well, hold on a second, who are you as an individual to tell people who have invested their time in this case and genuinely feel connected to it? Do you know what I mean? And this has been one of those cases again that the family themselves had opened this up to the public to be part of. They did that when they started requesting money for the case, you know, to help. As soon as you open that door, it's a floodgate. You're going to have to take the rough with the smooth. You can't have your cake and eat it. We say that quite a lot, don't we? You can't ask the public for help, assistance, guidance, money, and then not expect some people to, as soon as other information comes forward, to then feel a certain way about it. But this person had not just done this to me. I'll just flick across here. Now, this is Wax Unfiltered. Now, he is someone who does a lot of coverage of the Jay Slater case. I don't know 100% of what this guy is all about. I can't say anything beyond that. What I've seen, he's obviously invested in this story. He does a lot of watching what is out there and does what I do, kind of decipher the thoughts and feelings around the case. But it would appear that he has had a very similar experience with this same person. But if you haven't heard of Wax Unfiltered, go and check him out. If you're interested in the Jay Slater case, go and check him out. But look, so this person comes forward and they're like, it's very clear that what this person is all about is controlling the narrative of the Jay Slater situation. But in doing so, and when they start having their opinion, it raises people's eyebrows to certain questions around what happened to Jay Slater. Because let's make no bones about it, you can feel a certain way, but you can only feel a certain way. You don't know what happened. We don't 100% know if there was anything nefarious around the Jay Slater situation. And what they will turn around and say, then what this guy was trying to push was the fact that where Jay Slater was found, it was almost like no one else could have been involved in this. And if you understood the terrain, you would understand how stupid it is to say that other people were involved, that he was dumped or anything like that. But I put it to these people. Ultimately, where Jay Slater ended up is he fell down, apparently down a ravine, but he got to where he fell fine. He got there and he was in shorts and he was in t-shirt. He'd never been abroad in his life, and I have touched on this previously because this is something, but I want to ram this home. I want to ram it home that there seems to be people around it who want it over and done with. They don't want people looking. And it makes you think, hold on a second. When there's people, and these are people who have an investment in the area of Tenerife, they have an investment around where this happened. It's when those people start stepping outside of their area of expertise to then say, no, you're wrong, this is stupid, this is conspiracy theories, when in reality, you're just guessing yourself and feeling a certain way. Well, what gives you the right as an individual to say, well, I can feel the way I do, but you cannot feel the way that you do about it? It doesn't make sense to me. You know, Jay Slater, in order for anybody to believe the overarching narrative that Jay Slater is the only person to blame here, because that's what it all boils down to. Everyone is blaming this kid for the decisions that he made and what eventually happened to him. There is nobody else being held accountable for anything. It's from the very first moment that people were talking about this, it was about distancing themselves from what had actually happened, when that's not the case. Even the people who Jay ended up spending the last sort of hours of his life with, it was claimed that they were associates, and that was the verbiage that they used, associates of his friends. The fact that he left the NRG festival and went with these people and ended up deceased should ring alarm bells to people. And I don't understand when people turn around and they're like, you can't think that there's anything bad that could have possibly happened outside of he decided not to charge his phone, not to eat. He weren't willing to wait for a bus. He weren't willing to accept the lift that Ayub Kasim apparently offered him. He just decided that what he would rather do is to walk without his phone charged an 11-hour hike across rough terrain in a country that he was unfamiliar with, in an area he was unfamiliar with, in dangerous terrain, in shorts and fucking t-shirts. And they're trying to point out or try to say that at no point did Jay Slater think to himself, fuck this, I'm going back. This is too difficult. I'm going to go back to the road and walk on the road. Even fucking Brad had turned around and said, if Jay had been thinking like me, he'd have headed back to the road. So the question is, why wasn't he thinking like his friend? Why wasn't he thinking like a fucking 19-year-old? 19-year-olds don't want to fucking walk that far. His own father had turned around and said he wouldn't even walk and get his fucking hair cut. But we're supposed to believe that he went fucking Rambo and started hiking through the trails in a short and t-shirt. That doesn't make sense. It doesn't make sense, and people might not like it. They might not like the fact that some people feel that way. And I said the other day, I said I wouldn't cover this case anymore. You know, if the family are done with it, then we should be done with it, because ultimately it's their story. It's their story, it's theirs. And then I thought to myself, do you know what? How many cases have we seen these sort of things happen? And just people walk away from it, and you end up like Kylie Rodney case. You know, I've got a playlist on the Kylie Rodney case. I think I've still got a playlist, but I've got a lot of videos on the Kylie Rodney case. If you haven't seen it, go check them out. And this is exactly the same situation. Exactly the same situation in that, where we think a certain way about it because of the things we see, because of the things we hear, but because it's the right thing to do, we're just willing to say, "Oh no, nothing to see here. Let's move on to the next thing, the next story," and then this will come up again. So the same sort of thing will happen, and that's this rinse and repeat. Where's that? Where's the justice in that? Where is the justice in that? Jay Slater was a young man. He was a young man with his entire life ahead of him. Think what you do of his past. Think what you want. Do you know what I mean? Yes, he had been a fucking dickhead in the past. He had. And maybe he had got himself entangled in things that he shouldn't have been entangled in. But even if that's the case, even if he'd gone overseas and got involved in some shit that he shouldn't have got involved in, and that's what ended up in this, then there still should be people held accountable for that. There still should be people being held accountable. But what frustrates me is that even when you listen to the news reports, they will turn around and say Jay Slater likely fell after trying to walk his way back to his apartment, back to his friends. So not even they are 100% committed to saying this is exactly what happened. All they can even say is this is what likely happened. And that's the reality of it. That's the truth of it, that is what's likely to have happened. But the difference between likely and definitely are miles apart. Miles apart. And there's a lot in between. And what I don't like is when there's people out there in the communities that are hell-bent on silencing anybody who dares challenge what they have considered is what happened, and saying that this is definitely what happened. This is 100% what happened. No, that's not. This isn't definitely what happened with the Jay Slater case. 100% this is definitely not definitely what happened. This is definitely what people want you to believe that happened to close the book on it. That's the truth of this story. And if you don't like it, that's tough, because that's a fact. Absolute fact. The fact of the matter is we don't know what happened to Jay Slater, and we maybe never will know what happened. But nobody can turn around and say it's an absolute fact that Jay Slater fell of his own accord with no mitigating factors involved. Nobody. And I challenge anybody to tell me why I'm wrong. Have a pop. I'll catch you all in the next one.